But who was Pierre Trudeau, and why is he being celebrated? Well, in today's episode of our series, Unpacking the Legacy, we'll explore what his life and career reveal about him and the state of Canada today. It's me, and this is Unpacking the Legacy. Pierre Elliott Trudeau was born on October 18, 1919, into a wealthy family in Montreal, Quebec. His father, Charles, was a businessman and politician, and his mother, Elzire, came from one of the oldest and most respected French-Canadian families. The future Prime Minister's early life was marked by privilege, attending elite schools and summering at his family's private lake house. However, his upbringing was also steeped in nationalism, thanks to his mother, who instilled in him a love for French language and culture. Trudeau was particularly influenced by the Quiet Revolution, a period in Quebec history that saw a surge in French language and culture during the 1960s. This was an era of political awakening in which young French Canadians began to challenge the status quo and demand more autonomy from the federal government. Trudeau was drawn to these ideas and became an ardent nationalist himself. He would carry this devotion to Quebec and its people for the rest of his life. In 1938, at the age of 18, Trudeau left Canada to study at the University of Paris, where he would receive his law degree. There he encountered some of the most important thinkers of the time, including Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Gaston Bachelard. The young Trudeau was deeply affected by their work, and it would have a profound impact on his political philosophy. When the Second World War broke out, Trudeau returned home and enlisted in the Canadian military. However, he was denied active duty due to his poor eyesight. Instead, he served in the reserves and worked as a journalist. After the war, Trudeau went back to Paris and began working as a lawyer. It was here that he witnessed firsthand the devastation caused by the war and the urgent need for international cooperation. This experience would shape his views on foreign policy and his commitment to peace. Trudeau returned to Canada in 1949 and began working as a lawyer and part-time professor at the University of Montreal. He quickly established himself as a leading voice for Quebec nationalism, and in 1965, he was elected to the House of Commons as the Liberal member for Papineau. As a member of Parliament, Trudeau made a name for himself as a charismatic and outspoken leader. He became known for his ability to connect with ordinary Canadians and his passion for social justice. But it was his stance on the issue of French language rights that really set him apart. Trudeau argued passionately for the protection and promotion of French language and culture in Canada, becoming one of the leading voices for the rights of Francophones across the country. By the early 1970s, Trudeau's popularity had skyrocketed, and the Liberal Party chose him as their leader. On April 8, 1974, the Liberals won a majority government, and Trudeau became the 15th Prime Minister of Canada. During his first term in office, Trudeau wasted no time in implementing his progressive agenda. One of his first acts was to introduce a new policy that allowed for the repatriation of Canadian criminal trials from the United Kingdom to Canada. This was a significant step towards making Canada a fully independent nation. Trudeau was also a strong advocate for civil rights and social justice. He introduced legislation that banned discrimination based on race, religion, or gender, as well as measures to promote equal access to education and employment opportunities. He also played a key role in the patriation of the Constitution, bringing the final vestiges of British rule back to Canada. However, Trudeau's most significant contribution to Canada was his introduction of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, a document that guarantees fundamental rights and freedoms to all Canadians. The Charter has had a profound impact on Canadian society, shaping debates on issues such as abortion, LGBTQ rights, and religious freedom. In addition to his domestic policies, Trudeau was also a prominent figure on the international stage. He played a key role in the peace process in Cyprus and was a vocal critic of the apartheid regime in South Africa. Trudeau also had a close relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir, whom he admired for her strength and determination. He was also a close friend of Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi and played a role in normalizing relations between India and Canada. Despite his many accomplishments, Trudeau's legacy is a complex one. He was a polarizing figure who was both loved and loathed by Canadians. Some view him as a hero who fought for justice and equality, while others see him as a symbol of political correctness and social engineering. One of the main reasons for this polarization is Trudeau's stance on cultural issues. He was a strong advocate for multiculturalism, which he believed was essential to the survival of French language and culture in Canada. However, this policy was highly controversial and critics accused Trudeau of promoting a divisive identity politics. Another source of contention is Trudeau's economic policies. He was a proponent of a mixed economy, which he believed could provide Canadians with the best of both worlds: the efficiency of the free market and the social safety net provided by the government. However, his policies were not without their critics who accused him of being a socialist and ruining the Canadian economy. Perhaps the most controversial aspect of Trudeau's legacy is his handling of the October crisis. In 1970, Quebec was rocked by a series of violent events that threatened to plunge the province into chaos. The crisis began when two members of the Front de Liberation du Québec, or FLQ, kidnapped British Trade Commissioner John A. Crispy and Quebec politician Pierre Laporte. The FLQ demanded the release of several of their members who had been arrested in connection with a previous attack. When the government refused to meet their demands, the kidnappers murdered Laporte. The crisis continued, with the FLQ carrying out a series of bombings and other attacks. Trudeau's government responded by invoking the War Measures Act, giving authorities sweeping powers to crack down on suspected sympathizers. The act was highly controversial and civil liberties groups accused Trudeau of overreacting. Despite these controversies, there is no denying that Trudeau was a transformative figure in Canadian history. He led Canada through a period of significant change and left an indelible mark on the country's political, social, and cultural landscape. So who was Pierre Trudeau? Well, he was a man of many contradictions. He was a privileged son who became a champion of the common man. He was a staunch nationalist who also believed in international cooperation. He was a progressive who was not afraid to use force when necessary. Ultimately, Trudeau was a leader who sought to create a better Canada for all Canadians. He believed that Canada could be a country that was both fiercely independent and deeply compassionate, a country that was open to the world but also true to its values. Whether you agree with his policies or not, there is no denying that Trudeau's legacy lives on in Canada today. From the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to the patriation of the Constitution, Trudeau's contributions to Canadian society have shaped the country in profound ways. Love him or hate him, Pierre Trudeau was a giant of Canadian history, and his impact on the country is undeniable. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Unpacking the Legacy. We hope that you have learned something new, and that you will continue to follow us as we continue to explore the legacies of other important figures in history. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on all of our latest content. And if you have a legacy that you would like us to explore in a future episode, please let us know in the comments below.